Definitely not going to be speaking about. You've put here.
You're
time.
on it.
I know I'm on it. It's fine. You've put here, and I want an explanation. You've put. By the way, we're just on Lucy's Spidergram notes. Did we discuss during last week's podcast? We've actually got the notes like present.
You have.
You've put here, which I think is a bit mad. Time, and then you've put another arrow and gone precious time.
And I don't know why. Maybe we were talking about precious time.
That?
I'm unsure of what that actually.
Would you? Time. Precious time.
Okay, let's kick
else.
off. Let's kick off with time. The topic of time.
Well, one thing I do want to kind of kick off with, because we kind of discussed it last week, but we didn't discuss it like whatsoever. There's some like juicy topics in here, by the way.
There is some juicy topics.
There's some big ones. There is. Why did you actually want to give up coaching? We spoke about this last week, but it was kind of like, oh yeah, no, you did it. And then we just went off into ADHD and loads of other stuff.
Ooh, we chatted a lot.
Oh, we did. That's why we're here again.
But it's good.
That's why we're here again. Yeah.
They love it.
It's not been released yet.
We hope they love it.
It's not been released yet, so we don't know. But yeah, like, why did you actually want to give up coaching?
So, because I was feeling frustrated.
Do you want to stop shouting? No, but for these, because you probably.
I don't know why.
She's screaming, isn't she?
Am I really loud?
Yeah.
Bring it down. Zach's like, bring it down just to set iota.
I am the loudest person on this podcast. He always goes mad. But you were like screaming for me.
That's just because, oh God, you're rubbing off on me, Jamie. I can't.
Sorry. You're just amped to be here.
Too close.
But yeah, chill out.
So, I wanted to give up coaching because I was genuinely frustrated. There was a revolving door of clients. I had probably little to no self-belief, I would say. I'd always kind of worked for other people rather than something of my... I've always been self-employed but contracted by other companies.
Yeah.
And it just felt really hard, really scary. It felt like I was starting from the ground up. And I just thought, if this doesn't work, I've got a perfectly good degree there that I probably should go and use because I need to earn money. I need to feel more secure. And yeah.
So where do you think the lack of self-belief come from? Just the constant revolving door of clients? Like you just felt like you wasn't having like any retention?
I think there's just a lot of things wrong at that time.
When was this? What year was this?
Oh my God.
Is it 2021?
2021, yeah.
So it wasn't that long ago, was it?
No, 2021.
Was this when you was like, right, I'm having a gamble and going with Chris?
Yeah.
So it was like a year and a half ago.
And then I took a gamble again a year ago and went with CCB, didn't I? So yeah, I've took a few gambles, but it took a little while, but here we are. So I think that the lack of self-belief probably come less from external factors and more from internal factors, and probably more like I just didn't think that I had what it took to be a businesswoman or to run my own business or to be an attractive business to people or know how to speak to people, or I just didn't think that I had that in me to be successful.
Any of like the relatable skills that would kind of
and I think I've always kind of like been able to get away with being a good coach, knowing what to do and what to say to clients and things like that, but be under the umbrella of somebody else's brand or what somebody else does.
Like that safety blanket kind of thing.
And then I think that the last kind of, I mean, I'm not even sure. Well, yeah, I can say it because I'm not mentioning any names, so yeah, I can. But like, so I feel
mention them anyway.
We'll
just get sued. Why not?
Mention all the names.
We'll get sued.
So I think that okay, I'm going to put it this way. So working for some other companies throughout my career.
Don't actually name them.
As probably, I won't.
I thought you was about to go.
No.
Working for
other companies throughout my career probably impacted my confidence massively.
Yeah.
Because whilst some of the companies I've worked for are amazing and were fantastic places to begin and have given me so much by working for them, other companies that I've worked for, it hasn't been that way. It hasn't been the same story. And I think that it impacted my confidence massively. Like, because I never felt like they believed in me either. So because they didn't believe in me, it was so easy to want to give up on myself.
Did you feel like you was a bit of a number rather than like a person in the company? Like, obviously I've never worked for a company like that, but I'm assuming there's a lot of metrics and stuff you've got to hit.
Yeah.
And if you didn't hit them, you were just like...
Yeah, and I feel like the things that were promised to me upon working for that company weren't delivered upon.
Yeah.
I felt like on the whole, I was holding up my end of the bargain. There's always areas for improvement. I'm never going to sit here and say I was perfect because that's not the case. And I don't think that anyone can sit there and say that they wouldn't do a few things differently. I definitely would, especially now, kind of being who I am today. I would definitely do a few things differently. But I don't think that what was promised to me upon working for that company was delivered upon. I don't think that I was really allowed to be my own person that much. I think I was trying to put a facade on social media. I was not being true and authentic to who I am as a coach and who I am as a person. And then I think when I did all that self-work with the meditation, the yoga, started really questioning myself on like why it is I do what I do, why I react the way I react, why I feel the way I feel. And it was during that time, obviously, that my nan got the cancer. I'd ended that relationship that was really hard to end and deal with. I was going through a lot. COVID was still kind of off and on. I don't think I've mentioned this, but I was on antidepressant medication at the time before all of the meditation and yoga and stuff come about, which isn't a bad thing, by the way. It just wasn't what I ever expected for me.
The reason that I think like you're such a good guest here is because you've completely opened up about that, and like this is just me taking it off on a tangent a little bit, but as coaches and as like people who, I don't want to use the fucking term influencers, but you get what I'm saying, like people who have influence,
people who have
influence. Thank you. Like people look to you whether you think it or not, and they look to you for inspiration, look to you for guidance. And a lot of the time, they probably think that everything's perfect in your life.
Yeah.
And everyone forgets that you're actually Lucy the person, not Lucy the coach.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I like it so good. Because people will listen to this and like, whoa, she's like achieved all this. And she's had all this shit go on 18 months ago.
Yeah.
So I think that's why like it's so important for people to hear that like you can be in the shit like a year ago and be great a year later.
Yeah.
Which you are.
And you know what? I never thought that I would. Don't get me wrong, there's still things I want to achieve. There's still so much more to come and to work for. I know that. But if somebody would have told me I'd be in the position I am today, 18 months, 2 years ago, I'd have ripped their fucking hand off.
Yeah.
I would have ripped their fucking hand off. And the only way that I've managed to get to this point is by addressing those things about myself that maybe weren't beneficial to who I was trying to become.
Yeah.
And also leaving behind environments that didn't serve me. So for example, like that company, you know, leaving that behind was probably the best decision that I made, even though it made me question myself so much because I felt like I had such low self-worth and self-belief and self-worth and self-belief. Again, we kind of touched on this last time, but that is something I'm still actively working on.
Yeah.
Because everybody has self-limiting beliefs, do you know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah.
Everyone has got them, and I'm still very much working my way through some of that. But I think that it just, working for other companies made me question myself a lot. And then I think when I was out on my own, that there was nobody there to save me.
Yeah.
And that was very obvious that I was very much on my own. I didn't leave that company on great terms either. So I felt very isolated, very have I made the right decisions? Very is what they think about me true?
Like quite hungover from the situation. Yeah.
And I found myself questioning a lot, my abilities as a coach, and is this the right path for me? And they said this about me. Is that true?
Yeah.
Is that am I really not cut out for this? Is that right?
Yeah.
And that it left me feeling very much that.
Yeah. That's so many people probably feel the way, I've definitely felt the way you feel there. When I've been working for a company and it's almost that you get grounded down so much that you kind of lose your identity in the process. You feel like a number. That's definitely what I felt like when I was in other jobs before this.
Yeah.
Where you get judged so heavily on your performance as, what's the word to use? As a cog in the system rather than Lucy who works here. You kind of get judged off that merit rather than your own merit. Do you know what I mean? You can kind of lose your identity in that front. So I completely get where you're coming from there. One question here. You've mentioned so many things that was going wrong there.
So many.
The thing with your nan, the thing with the self-belief, the job that you hated, stuff like that. Do you think, and I'm like a huge believer in this, do you think like a lot of people go, oh, it's all falling apart, but do you think your life fell together then?
Yeah.
Like you think your life fell together? Like
Yeah.
you dropped the toxic situation, you dropped the relationship that fucking hell you mentioned before was obviously like not going great, as you said just on the podcast. And it was like, do you think like all those things moved so you could go forward?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. And I think that often in life, when everything has felt like it's been falling apart,
Yeah.
as cliche as it sounds, things have actually been falling together
Yeah.
and working in my favour.
Yeah.
Every relationship that you have, anyone watching this who's feeling right now like their life is potentially falling apart, something I want to say is that when you feel that fear of everything falling apart, when it feels like nothing's working, when it feels like the worst time of your life, things are probably about to happen
Get
for you.
better, yeah.
But there has to be some action behind that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't just sit there and wait for like the universe to bring something great to your door. Things are working behind the scenes, because for me, I always think if it's not for me and it's not meant to be in my life, like the powers that be will remove that stuff from my life.
Definitely. And it's like, because obviously you've probably gone through a period, like you mentioned then, yoga, meditation. So you're obviously someone who knows how to manifest stuff, and obviously you believe in manifestation. And it's weird because sometimes obviously like I obviously meditate myself. I try to manifest things. And it's weird because there's times where you'll sit there, and I don't want to make this like a dead hippie fucking spooky podcast. But
Start sitting there and just being like,
Yeah.
I want £1 million.
yeah, I can get a no. It's not nothing like that. That's not what I'm getting at. But like, it's weird because you kind of like come out and you're like, right, things are going to start feeling good now. A lot of the times things can feel shit off the back of it.
Yeah.
But it's stuff that you're like, oh no, I'm losing that now. But as you just mentioned, like stuff kind of gets moved out of your way. And I definitely think from what you said there, because obviously we spoke ages ago, like, as this happened, like you was mentioning, obviously jumping on board with Chris and stuff, like it's probably just cleared all of the clutter, so to speak, out of your life. So you've got like a straight go at it. Do you know what I mean? It's a straight road. But as you've mentioned there, like a lot of the times, and that's why off camera, like off microphone, whatever, before we spoke about, I'm very at peace with it is what it is. Like my life is fucked up that many times. And like whether it's for good, whether it's for bad, I'm always just like very stoic in the way of I'm gonna be fine. Because it's like kind of fucked up that much. And I'm just like, I'm going to be
There's
sound.
a way back, it's going to be
There's a way
all right.
back, and like you've kind of got to be comfortable with the fact that like everything's getting better. And as you've just mentioned, there's got to be some action. But oftentimes when it feels like everything's like closing in, it's actually like everything's opening up, really, isn't it?
Yeah. And the times that feel the hardest and are the biggest struggle are often the times when the best things are yet to come.
Yeah.
And a lot of what we're saying probably sounds so cliche, but it's so true that like when like tough times and bad times and pressurizing situations like create diamonds. It's one of my favourite sayings. Like
pressure makes diamonds. Yeah,
pressure creates diamonds. And I do genuinely believe that, because I think that you can feel like your whole world's falling apart, but in the end, like you'll always find a way back from it. You just have to use them problem solving skills and think of ways that you can come back from it in a different way this time. What didn't work last time? What can I do going forward? And I think like life, especially in your 20s, I think is a lot of that.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of finding your feet and finding yourself.
Yeah.
I think like finding your own identity, because you go the longest time in like education, higher education, university, and you're kind of like told what you should be.
Yeah.
You don't find out kind of like what you should be. So yeah, your 20s is a lot of like fucking up learning.
Yeah, making lots of mistakes and then learning from it. And I think that's in a sick kind of way. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? Like you have the chance to try again.
I always say like you learn more in loss than like victory. Like you learn where you've gone wrong and things like that.
Yeah, you learn so much more and get more from the hard times than you do from the good times, don't you?
One thing you've just mentioned there, which I want to ask like an interesting question off the back of, in that moment where like things have, like looking back now, like hindsight's great, but like obviously looking back now, we know all these things are removed for you to get better.
Yeah.
But at that moment where you've mentioned, if you're at the bottom, there's got to be action. I spoke to you, obviously, not in great detail about you going, I'm giving it another go, I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. there'll be people who are listening to this going, fucking hell, that's like me or has been me or whatever. So when you were sat there and was like, I'm having one last roll of the dice to really do this, like what was going on in your head? Like, because I think that'd be so interesting for people to hear from you, someone who's gone on to be successful. Like, what was that feeling like? Like, what was it?
What was the what was just going on in my mind at the time? And I was thinking, I'm going to give it one last shot.
Yeah. Well, anything like, what was the catalyst? How was you feeling? Like, just describe that moment.
The catalyst was leaving the job.
Right.
The the match lit was probably my need to prove to myself, and probably for the wrong reasons, other people, that I could do it.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm going to give this one last go because there's got to be something here. If I'm this passionate about this, there's got to be something here. I've got to have something, otherwise like this passion wouldn't exist inside me. And I want to prove every fucking person who thought that I wouldn't be able to do it, or I wasn't cut out for this job, or I wasn't cut out for this, for coaching or this kind of business, wrong about me.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, I've got something to fall back on if it doesn't work out.
You got the degree.
And I'm giving myself a year to give this all I've got.
Yeah. And how did it end up going for the first like few weeks, month, stuff like that?
First few weeks and stuff, rocky as always, but I reached out to Chris for some help in terms of like getting the social media side of things right and just getting things looking more professional from a like a client acquisition standpoint, and for the value that I was providing, I wanted it to come across in a good way. And I felt like Chris probably doesn't really realise this, but he was probably the stepping stone into
don't big him up.
Yeah,
he gets enough big enough on this podcast.
He does.
He's not getting.
But he
any
was
more.
probably the first support.
Yeah.
Solid support that I had with my business.
Second.
Yeah. Apart from you, he was probably the first solid support in terms of like. Yes, he was providing me with a service in terms of videography, the content, providing the value on Instagram and things like that. But I'd known Chris anyway, and it was like having a friend to bounce ideas off, who also was providing me with a service that I absolutely needed. And it was just, I don't know, like, he was one of the people who kind of made me see that, like, people can go through something really shit or leave a company or whatever, and, like, it can work out. Like, you've just got to persevere with it. Like, he would give me advice all the time, like about little things. I had great friends as well who like were literally like, what are you talking about? Like, that degree is never going to need to be used. Like, come on, like, have a bit of self-belief. But it was myself that was probably holding me back.
Yeah.
But having that support from Chris was genuinely like probably the first like little nudge in the right direction that I needed. And then after that, when I felt like I'd kind of exhausted everything I could do in my own brain, I reached out to somebody for help.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a very deep question here that's just twigged in my head. And you can tell me to fuck off if you want.
Okay.
But, like, you've mentioned lack of self-belief a lot here, like, over and over and over again, no matter what we said. Is that a deep-rooted thing with you?
Yeah, I would say so.
Your whole life, you've, like, lacked it?
Yeah, so...
Up until this point, I know you're working on it and you're miles better than you ever have been, but, like... Do you think that's just been is it something that you've developed in the job, or has it always been there?
I think it's always been there to some extent. And I think I'm starting to figure out the reason as to why.
Right.
I had a conversation literally last night with Dan from Total Mental Performance. So shout out Dan.
Shout out Dan. This is the second podcast in a row Dan's been shouted out. But shout out Dan. Dan's a geezer, so shout out Dan, yeah.
Yeah, he's fucking amazing. But we had a call last night and like we were getting into the nitty gritty of what my self-limiting beliefs are. And we come out with something, in the end, like, I am not as confident as people think I am, and that makes me feel like a fraud. That was the sentence. Like
imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that was the sentence. And I was like, twig moment. I was like, that is the self-limiting. And he was like, we've got it. Because it takes a little while to dig and find what that self-limiting belief actually is when you know that you lack self-belief in certain areas, but what is it that I lack self-belief in? Why? And the reason why is because I think for my entire life I've been loud, sweary scouse bird who speaks their mind and is a little bit like take it or leave it. And that is my personality. That is true to self. That is authentic. But in the same breath, I think that from a very young age, because I was always the loud one, always the outgoing one, I think confidence has always been assumed by people. It's always been like, she's the most yeah, with certain things, yeah, in certain areas. In every part of my life, though, no. Like, of course not. Like, how is anybody confident in absolutely every area in life? It's like it's quite a difficult thing. I think it's even quite a difficult thing for me to understand still, because I'm still unpacking that and still trying to get to kind of like the roots of what's going on there with that.
Yeah.
But I would say that, yeah, like I think the lack of self-belief has probably led me to feel like a little bit of a fraud at times. Led to a little bit of imposter syndrome, and you know what, environment also is everything. I think spending time around people who genuinely bring me up, provide value to my life, and I provide value to their life, and they genuinely want the best for me, I think has been ridiculously helpful. Ridiculously helpful. I have a very, very good circle of friends these days, and it hasn't always been that way. I haven't always had an environment of people who did believe in me or thought that I was good at what I do or lifted me up. I've definitely been around people who have tried to drag me down and said horrible things that have made me question my own self-worth and question that belief within myself. And I think that plays a massive part as well. It's who you have around you. What kind of people do you involve yourself with?
I'm like a huge believer in that, like such a huge believer in that. And even to the stage where I'm like very self-aware of like your environment is what shapes you. And like if you're around 5 idiots, you become the 6th and things like that. I'm a huge believer in that. Even with me being like aware of it, and I'm like, right, I won't get into this circle too much. Just being around it is very draining.
Yeah.
Even if you aren't listening to them, like just being around negativity is very draining, and it might not directly like make you doubt yourself, and it might not directly affect you as an individual, but like guaranteed it's draining you a little bit.
Yeah.
Like blocking it out is draining. Oh my God, like you're listening to like negative stuff all the time. And like that is such a big one. And it's not in I struggle to comprehend why people do it. Like, why you're never going to make yourself, you're never going to pull yourself up by dragging others down. Never. No. Like you never, what's the quote? And it's proper cringy. And it's like trying to blow out someone else's candle doesn't make yours shine brighter.
You shine any brighter.
But it's true though, isn't it? Like, and there's some people, but it's not even, as I've mentioned, I can't comprehend it. It's not even worth trying to comprehend it. You just need to like get yourself in like a much better situation, like an environment that serves you better, a circle of friends that like serves you better. But what's so weird is like you've just mentioned there, like you'd assume a lot of people would assume, that you are confident because you're loud and you've always spoke your mind and things like that. But like, how are you working on that? Because I've asked a few people who are great people in the last like week or two to do the podcast, and they're like big social characters. Everyone knows who they are. They've achieved massive things. And I've asked them, they've all gone, oh, I get nervous about it. And I'm like, you, of all people, you get nervous.
Why are you getting
nervous?
Yeah.
Like, so I know it sounds stupid. Like, these are like blokes who are like in the 40s and they've got successful businesses, or they've like done well at competitions.
But the anxiety set in it that they're
so like, what are you doing to like get better with it? Because I bet you so many people will like benefit from that.
So to be honest, getting myself out my comfort zone.
Yeah.
This year has been massive for that.
Yeah.
Huge. And I know that I keep kind of dropping it in there, but obviously I am a performance coach for Coaching Concierge Build, which is Mark Coles's business mentoring program. And something I will say is that genuinely, I think, has been one of the biggest things that has pushed me out my comfort zone massively.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because it's coaching, but it's a different style of coaching. It's a different thing. We're coaching business now. It's not coaching somebody to lose body fat. It's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
And it's something like I'd never done before, or never thought anybody would see enough potential in me to entrust me with such a role, because it is such a big role.
I bet that was like such a good feeling though. Off the back of what we've just been saying. I
couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I bet you off the back, because you've gone from like, how long have you been with Mark now, the CCB?
Oh my God.
Like 5 months?
Since I've been in the programme since it very first started, and then I've been working for the programme for about 6 months.
So obviously if we go back 6 months, that takes like what, December, November, around that time. And you spoke to me, I think, in the October of 2021. So you've gone from like October 2021 to being like, I didn't feel like obviously people were fair with me, that type of stuff. You had the limiting self-beliefs, and then 12 months later, basically, you had someone who, like, let's be honest, he's well-renowned. Everyone in fitness knows who he is. Like, to go, do you want to, you're good enough to, like, work for me.
And I literally was like, are you sure?
So, like, over a 12-month period, you've gone from, like, here to here. Yeah. So, like, what was that feeling like? I bet you that was, like, such a fucking good feeling.
If he ever sees this, he'll be like, what?
You've got to make him watch it.
But probably
we'll just cut this bit out for him and send it to him.
Just this bit just for you. I'm probably quite like, do you know what? Like, the only way I can describe it is like terrified / elated.
Yeah.
Because somebody else who I had worked for and looked up to massively back in 2021 literally basically had said to me, like, in the nicest way, you ain't shit. Like, it's not for you. Like, might as well give up now, essentially.
Yeah.
Because I was going through a lot of stuff, like obviously taking antidepressants and things, and you know, I would say it wasn't taken into consideration all that much, and it was just kind of like, you sure you cut out for this?
But I think,
was in a spiral with
sorry
that.
to interrupt you. I think that's like the job, and I don't know who it is you're on about, but they sound shit. Like, because from a coach or a mentor perspective, you've got to understand how people tick. Like, what's going on. And like, if he'd have just turned around and maybe gone, what is going on with Lucy, and understood the different triggers at the time that was going on, that might have gone differently. Obviously, it's worked out incredibly well for you.
And I don't regret anything, and I'm happy it worked out the way it did. And I honestly, to be honest, at this point in my life, I genuinely don't hold any bad blood towards that situation. But I'm so glad that it happened, to be honest. But it honestly, I hate to admit how much it genuinely knocked me confidence, and like, it truly sent me into a spiral of like, maybe he's fucking right. Maybe he's fucking right.
Well, at the time, it's like your whole identity.
Completely.
And someone just goes, you're shit at this.
Yeah.
So it's like, essentially someone's going, you're a shit person.
Yeah.
Like, you just shit. I know it sounds stupid. If you're known, like, I know we was joking before with Chris, like, Chris is like brilliant at videography. But like, if we'd have turned around, it's like his whole thing. If we were like, mate, you're shit at this.
Shit,
enough people say, you're shit, mate. Like, he's going to feel bad about it, isn't he?
And if it's somebody whose opinion who you hold in high esteem, it's even worse.
Yeah, it is.
So it's just like, oh, fuck, like, is that true? And then you start questioning yourself. And I think, as much as I don't think you should look for external validation from anybody, I do think there has to be a lot of internal work that takes place in order to get that validation from yourself.
Yeah.
I do think having Mark turn around to me and go, no, we do believe you're good enough for this. And I even said to him, like, are you sure? I was like, you know, and I told him what had happened. Like, previously to me. And I was like, but this and this and this has been said. And like, and he was like, why do you believe those things about yourself? When we can see so much potential in you that you just cannot see in yourself. He was like, forget about that. He was like, it's not real. He was like, we see the value. So, and
it probably like geared him up more that like you'd come from that to that in like such a short space of time.
Yeah, it was such a short space of time.
12 months, 13 months, something like that.
And you know what? It was a 12 months of graft.
Yeah.
And I would say not much else.
No, definitely. Like, to change around that fast, it's got to be like 100%.
You've got to be all in. And I was definitely all in, and I still am.
I think one thing you've just said, which I was going to bring it up before, but we've kind of like come back round to it, is you was on about like external validation, and it was like, I wanted to do this to kind of like prove people wrong, to prove I can do it. Like, I think, like, I know everyone goes, the only validation you need is for yourself. But I'm a bit tapped me in the way I think. And a lot of the stuff that fires me up is what you've just said. Like, oh, you said I can't do that. Oh, I'm going to basically fucking go and do it now. And there's one thing that you said in your notes, which, see how I'm like linking this together so well here. Amazing. You said like, you were struggling comparing yourself to people quite a lot.
Yeah.
So like, what was all that about? And I've done that. And I think in this industry, it's very easy to do it.
Yes.
It's the whole, I'm moving to Dubai.
I need to have a Lambo because everybody else is going to have a Lambo.
I have a Lamborghini. I have so many clients paying me so much. I have 10K a month. I have, there's so many different things as to like, people will look at it and just be like, oh my God, like, I've not got that. I'm a failure.
I'm not
It's
successful.
so easy to fall into that trap. And I fell into that trap before. Like, I remember a time where I was like very close to hitting a certain target with my business coach. And I was already in that moment in time way better than I ever thought I would be. Way better. And because I wasn't at this number, which was a fucking few £100 more a month, I was like, I'm doing shit.
I'm a failure.
I'm doing shit. And like, it is so easy to fall into, but with you, what do you mean? Like, what was you comparing? Like, yourself, your business, the amount of clients you had, like, what was
I
it?
think everything. Just like, I was very much stuck in like looking at other more established, more clear in what they want, clear in what they offer, clear in who they help coaches, and just thinking, I am never going to get there.
Yeah.
I am never going to be able to do that. Like, who do I want to help? Because you've got to remember, coming from working for another company, I was serving their avatar, their clientele.
Yeah.
So I was like, who do I want to help? Who does Lucy Brabin actually resonate with? Who does she want to help? I was like, how do I go about establishing a brand?
Yeah.
How do I create an identity here within this space when I'm struggling to figure out like what that identity would be? God, why don't I earn 10k a month?
Yeah.
God, why can't I drive around in a nice car? I think it was just everything.
Yeah.
I was looking at everything and just thinking, I feel like where I am right now is so far away from where those people are that I'll never catch up.
Yeah. I've spoke to so many coaches, right? And it's clear, like when you see them, and I'm not going to out anyone, but when I see them on social media and the portrayal they put out, then I speak to them in person, I'm like, oh, you aren't like, what's the word? Comfortable with your current position. And it's like, as you've mentioned there, there's these accolades that are kind of like put out into the industry of how much you should earn, where you should live, like shit like that. And it's just like, what are you on about? Like, I know it's like, I always say to people, like, I'm so comfortable with how many clients I've got, where I live, what I do, what I'm into. But I think now there's kind of like a mold that people believe
and there's like
they've
a
got to be
competition
into.
going on.
Yeah.
It's like who can have the most clients, who can earn the most money, who can get to Dubai quicker, who can. And for me, I'm just a bit like, do you know what? I think sometimes in this particular industry, if you're a fitness coach watching this, you'll understand exactly what we mean. But like, you fall into that trap so easily of looking at other people and thinking, well, does that mean that that's what success is? Because if so, maybe I need to be aiming for that. Should I want what they've got? Because if that's success, then maybe that's what success looks like.
Yeah.
When really, what I'm going to say is get your head out your own ass, like genuinely, and think about what you deem is success.
That is such a powerful thing.
Successful for you.
That is such a powerful thing, yeah.
The metrics of success are a subjective thing. They are not objective. The typical mold of earning 10k, moving to Dubai, driving a Lamborghini, owning a Rolex, I don't know, whatever success it is that you've got in your mind is not the universal definition of success right now. Like, have your own definition of success. And is there anything wrong with any of those things I've just mentioned there if that's on your success list? No, absolutely not. You work hard. You deserve to treat yourself if that's what you want to do. You deserve to move country if that's what you want to do, and your life's going to be happier there. Like, please don't get it twisted.
But everything you just said there was what you want to do.
Yeah.
Not what it's like. It's literally, if that's your ideology of success,
then go for it.
Then go for it, yeah. But let's be fucking honest. How many people actually have that ideology? And how many people are actually doing it because it's an image-based thing that they think they've got to like?
I don't think everybody. I think that in this industry, it's very easy to get swept up into that being the marker of success, and so a lot of coaches will follow suit because they think that that's what success is, and so they'll just fit the mold, and they actually don't really know themselves that well, and don't really know what they think is success, and aren't maybe confident enough within themselves and what they have in their abilities to go, do you know what? I actually don't want the same thing as you. I want this. Yeah. Because it's a hard thing to do when you're looking at everybody else in the industry and going, well, that's what they want. That's where they live. That's what they've got. So maybe that's what I need to be a successful coach.
Yeah.
But for me, I think that it's very important if you are somebody who feels like they are less than right now and you are a coach and you're looking at it thinking, God, like I don't have what they have. there's nothing, and I just want to preface this with saying there is nothing wrong with wanting to continue to grow your business and hit certain metrics with finances and continue to grow and continue to be better and give it your all. There's nothing wrong with that, and I actually support that, and I do that on the weekly for all of my clients, like my CCB clients. Like,
yeah, if that's your thing,
yeah, then go for it and fucking smash it. But if that's not your definition of success, and your definition of success is being able to afford 2 amazing family holidays a year, living in a house with the white picket fence in a nice town where you grew up, and having a nice-ish car, being able to look after your kids, like being able to not panic about money when you swipe your card in the Tesco, being able to do essentially what you want and have enough to play with, but you're not looking for flash.
Yeah,
then that's
definitely
your definition of success, and don't feel sorry because that's your definition of success. Some people have got different metrics of success. Their definition of success is being able to work 6 a.m. until 3 p.m. Kids come home from school, they get to spend all night and all afternoon with their kids.
Yeah.
And they're happy as Larry earning 3 to 5k a month. It sorts them and the kids out. They can go away on holiday. They've got a nice home, nice car, kids are sorted. They get to spend so much time with their kids, they're made up, and that's their definition of success.
Yeah, and like you just said there, it's not subjective. It's literally individual.
Yeah,
like everyone's not, different.
Yeah, it's not an objective perspective, which I think that the fitness industry is getting wrong right now. We all go, oh, to be successful, you must live in Dubai.
Yeah, and it's just so far from the truth. And like you just mentioned there, and I'm completely with you on all of this. And I had a moment, as I've just mentioned there, like, it's so weird getting into coaching because you go from like 0 to again thinking, oh my God, that's what I've got to get to. And I think the more you go along, you're like, oh, it's bullshit that actually, do you know what I mean? And I had a moment of realization, and it was probably like a year or so ago, probably even longer actually, where for me, like I come back in this job and I've put it on my stories before and I put it on my post, and it was like, if I earned just 400 quid a week, right, it was enough to pay my bills, it was enough to like pay for my car, shit like that, right? I loved the job, so there's never a day that I turn around and I'm like, oh my God, I dread going to work today.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I want to do. It puts food on the table and I've got a bit of money left at the end of the month. And that for me was like the goal. And I got so swept up in this. You need to be earning 10K. You need to be at 50 clients. You need to do this. You need to compete, blah, 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 all this shit. And then one day I remember it was so weird. It's like it just like washed over me. It was like I'd just spent like 40 quid at Lidl, right? Fucking cupboards are full. Fridge was full. Diesel in the car. Electricity was on. And I was like, what really do you, Jamie, need right now? And I was like, nothing. And I was like, so as long as I've got this, I'm fucking happy. And as you just mentioned, that it's for each individual. Like some person could turn around and go, oh my God, like as if I've not got enough money to go out and fucking fly out somewhere right now. But I'm like very happy being like a home bird, got the food, got like everything looked after. And that is such a big thing, not only like coaching, but in fucking life as well. Like people get so caught up, what you've mentioned, obviously in your notes there, like comparison's a big thing, like with social media and the whole image-based fucking society we live in these days. Like if you actually sit down and think what you as an individual want. Like it's so much, and I guarantee it's so much different for each person, like what they actually want. Like, do you really want to be going out and spending all your fucking wages on a new rig out every week to go out and impress people you don't really give a fuck about? You probably don't.
No, but you'll do it.
You'll do it.
You should.
Exactly. And that's why it's like such a big thing for me, where like you need to understand what serves you best.
And you know what? That's another reason why, like, I absolutely love the jobs that I do. So I love my coaching business because I'm fucking passionate about helping women to be the most confident version of themselves, to maybe get there quicker than I ever fucking did, to lose fat, to change their lifestyles. Very fucking passionate about that. But I'm also very passionate in my business mentoring role because there's such a focus on values. And it's never for me like a cookie cutter, here you go, this is what you need to do. Like, I want you to hit 7K. I want you to hit 10K. It's very much like You need to go away and work out your values, right? This is how you do that. Figure out what's important to you. What do you actually want? What are you most passionate about? And it's very much a process of digging deep with all of that stuff. And then tailoring the experience to the particular client. For me, like, I want people to achieve what they want to achieve, their definition of success. Somebody might come to me and go, I've earned 5K, like, this is amazing, like, this is so much more than I ever...
It's a lot of fucking money.
It is a lot of money, and you get coaches who are so happy with that, they would be happy to stay there, you know what I mean? They're happy with that. You get other coaches who come disappointed because they didn't quite hit the 8K mark, or... You know what I'm saying? And it's like, your definition of success is very subjective, and it shouldn't just... Financials are important, of course, when you're running a business, very important, but they're not the only metric of success.
No, they're not.
And it's important to understand, like, where your metric of success lies.
Yeah.
And just because you're earning 5K and some other guy you know's earning 10K, like, it doesn't matter. You might be just as successful as him by your own metrics and your own perspective. Like, so comparing yourself really is like, it's a tough one. I know that a lot of people in fitness do it. I know that we've all done it in the past regardless, but try not to compare yourself to other people
not just
who
in
are doing
fitness,
the same
but
job.
Like in general as well.
Yeah, and like with the fat loss kind of side of things, like the amount of women who will say to me, like, why can't I just look like her? Why can't I be? And I'm like, because you're not her, and you'll never be her, and you'll never have the same features as her and the same... And why would you want to? Because you're you, and you should be focusing on looking like the best version of you and feeling like the best version of you and being healthy and being happy. Stop wasting time looking at Beyonce and wondering why your ass isn't as big as hers.
Yeah,
like,
I want one part of my job, which is like I absolutely fucking love, right, is I've got people who are exactly like that. And it's like, do you think I could look like them?
Oh, the way to send a picture, isn't it, of some random Victoria's Secret model? Do you think that could look like her?
This is how I want to look.
No.
Oh my God. And this for me is like, I get so passionate about it. And like when my clients start to see it as well, I fucking love it, right? It's like your journey in that is individual. So like you could turn around and go, oh, I want to look like this, but you don't even know what you look like.
You don't even know what you're going to look like.
You don't know what you're going to look like. Like it's literally like people turn around to me and they'll want time frames. They'll want different fucking things of like, can I be here in this time? If I do this, can I look like this? And it's like, mate, fucking just focus on becoming the best version of you.
And put one foot in front of the other, mate.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Let's see where we get to.
Let's not go to step 10.
Yeah,
let's take step 1 and 2 and let's not jump straight to fucking step 10. But as people go along, and this is massive advice for people if you're listening, you'll start going step 1, step 2. By step 3 or 4, you're like, oh, I actually fucking like who I am.
Oh, I can actually do this.
I can do this. And not only can I do this, I can fucking get behind who I'm becoming.
Yeah, and
do you know
I
what I
can
mean?
push myself a bit more, and I actually enjoy that. You know, I'm gonna give that. I'm gonna try harder with that. Do you know what? Actually, I've surpassed my own expectations over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep this up. Actually, I never thought I'd keep this up. Like it's just it's very like people want to look at where other people are and go, oh, I want that. Like, do you want that?
Yeah.
Or do you want to get started on your own journey and see where you land?
Do you want to like keep wishing or do you want to like get working? Like,
which
one is it? You can't have both. Like, are you going to sit here and like you just said, send the fucking pictures, or are you going to like get up off your ass, get moving?
That is my worst pet peeve. You know, honest to God. Do you know, like when a client will send me like a picture of them of fucking
I want to bang my head against the wall. Yeah.
Right? It's Kendall Jenner. Send me a picture of when am I going to look like her? And I'm like, oh my God, wrong mentality. Let's shift that perception immediately. You are not Kendall Jenner. You are not Kendall Jenner, and you shouldn't want to be Kendall Jenner. It's never going to happen. Let's focus on you, like how we can make you better, like how we can make you love you, how we can make you look at pictures of yourself and go, I'm so happy I look like me and not like Kendall Jenner.
Yeah.
Like,
no disrespect to Kendall if you're
if you're watching this, Kendall, apologies.
No disrespect, Kendall, you look good, but like I'm joking, but like I have it where, oh my God, like clients, and I've literally like wanted to smash the phone up when they're in front of me. They'll set like screensavers.
Of random ass people, yeah.
What are you doing?
No, stop.
What are you doing?
Stop that.
Because you're literally just going to be like, getting 2-3 days into it, looking at that, looking at you. Oh, I'm not quite there yet. And then you're just going to give up.
And I'm going to be honest, other people, do not get it twisted. if you've got idols who are looking a certain way or whatever, like, fantastic. Appreciate their beauty. Appreciate what they look like, the hard work that it may have taken them to look that certain way, or the surgeries that they potentially might have had.
Let's not upset anyone here.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, look at those people, think that they're amazing. Use that as fuel that it's possible for somebody to achieve something like that. Or if you see a transformation on Jamie's Instagram, my Instagram, you're like, God, that girl looks amazing. I wish I could look like her. Don't wish you could look like her. Use it as motivation and fuel to know that you too can change your life in the same way. She was in your
position, and she's like done exactly what we're saying and just got started.
Yeah, and it just comparison is, and people say comparison is the thief of joy. It is the thief of joy. If used correctly, it can probably be the best bit of fuel you've ever had in terms of like, I'm going to appreciate this and what this person's achieved, and now I'm going to go and put my own spin on that.
Yeah, exactly. Like they got their slice of the cake. I'm getting mine. That's how you should look at it. Not like, oh my God, they fucking smashed it. I wish. You can look at it, like you just said, look at it and go, oh my God, they've absolutely rattled this.
So I can do it.
I can do it. Like if they can do it, and the chances are they're in the same position as you, rough, like similar, fucking same home life, same family life, same work life. If they can do it, I always say like, it's a shining example that you can do it as well. Yeah. 100%.
And you know what? Like on that, I'll never forget. It's one of the things that like sticks out in my mind. And it's just like popped into my mind right now. And I was thinking, oh my God. And I'll never forget one of my clients, Alison, who's still with me now at the moment. Amazing, incredible results. Very, very proud of her, right? But I remember like the difference in the woman that she was when she first joined the team and the woman that she is now. She did a photo shoot with us last November. We're due for another photo shoot as well, coming up in July.
Big up Alison. Well done,
Alison.
Big up Al.
Yeah, just getting better and better, eating more food, just training like a beast, like
just thriving in every way
just thriving,
possible.
And I love that. I love that. And I'll never forget her saying in one of the videos that Chris took of her, she was like, you know, like on the LBC team, like, you know, the community is amazing, like all the girls support each other, and it's taught me not to compare my journey to anybody else's, because we are all very much on our own paths. And that was like, when you were saying about comparison, I was like, that like really sticks out to me, because that meant everything to me when I watched that video back, because I wasn't aware of what was, of everything that she was saying while it was being filmed. I was out and about and helping like other girls with their photo shoots and things like that. And that was one of the biggest things for me. I was watching it back and like I had a little smile to myself, because I was like, I remember like her having a bit of that comparison when she first come in, and now she's very much in her own lane. And the reason why is
that
because
whole thing has shifted. Yeah,
we've got a community of women who are all supporting each other, but at the same time, they're all very hyper aware that people have been in the programme longer. People have done certain things before that have set them up in a certain position. People have got different family constraints, different time constraints, different responsibilities. And it, like, I think the community, rather than make people go, oh, she's got a win and I haven't got it's highlighted to people that, okay, so some of us are in the same position, some of us are in very different positions. But that's okay, because we're all moving forward at our own pace here, and we're getting wins in different things. And okay, so this isn't a place to compare. This is actually a place to go, okay, I'm going to celebrate me and my achievements, rather than looking at them and going, why can't I achieve something like that? I'm going to celebrate me, my achievements, and what I can do with my responsibilities, my schedule, my family and work life. So it's been really nice for me to see the perspective shift in, not just Alison, but in a couple of the girls, and just nearly knocked myself out.
I don't want to say anything.
But like, you know, with like quite a few of the girls who've like said things like that, and I'm just like, what a thing it is to see like women not comparing themselves to each other, which is usually what we see so much of.
Yeah, definitely. 100% agree with everything you've just said.
100% agree with everything that you just said.
Right, so we've got one more thing off your notes. It's a bit of a heavy one. You know what it is.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about it, or do you want to fuck it off? You can fuck it off.
I don't know.
You don't need to talk about the ins and outs.
Okay.
No. You don't need to talk. Jesus Christ, don't talk about the ins and outs on here. But like, obviously, we've been.
This would have been good to bring up probably when we were talking about those really awful, shitty moments.
Well, the reason I kind of wanted to like do it here is because I feel like it's its own separate thing for you.
Okay.
You're today's guest. You're the main attraction today. It's not all about self-help, all this type of stuff. It's Lucy today. Do you know what I mean? It's your
the Lucy show.
It's your story. It's my show, but you're on it. Let's get that straight. You're not running off with the podcast after this. But obviously and I didn't really know till you said it and you told me, and I was obviously fucking shocked by it. You've not got to get into it. But like, you've had like a pretty rough
start to the year.
Yeah. But like, the thing for me is, I don't really want you to get into that side of it. But like, you mentioned before about toxic people, toxic situations. That was like a prime example.
Yeah.
And like,
absolutely.
So like, what has gone on there?
So there was essentially an incident in which case that I had somebody around me who I didn't realise that they obviously have like some deep-rooted issues that they need to work on. And whilst I was away in Dubai towards the end of that trip, like, it kind of all just come to blows, and there was a physical altercation, we will say, in which I was not involved in. I was just the receiver, which is not great. But it was one of those moments that, unfortunate, because the person who it occurred with was what I perceived to be a very good friend of mine. You can be wrong. You can think you know someone, but you don't.
So you've not spoke since?
No.
Right.
No.
I'm not about to be like Jerry Springer. I'm just kind of asking.
Quite like a serious thing, and I think I need to know when to quit.
Yeah.
So old me probably would have, even despite the severity of the situation, from which you obviously are aware of, but would probably have tried in some insane way to patch
to understand
that up.
It.
And I am at a place in life where I don't feel the need to patch up every single relationship that I have in my life. And I think I used to be so terrified of like walking away from people when they meant so much to me. These days, you can mean so much to me, and you do something so awful, like some things just cannot be patched up, and some people are best left in a chapter of your life that just as the book closed on it. And I think that's what I did with that situation. I closed the book with it, because I was like, I just think certain relationships, even if you love the person, even if the person is a very good friend, even if they've got amazing attributes and qualities, and I'm never going to sit here and slag that person off, because they have got amazing attributes and qualities, they've just also got a lot of obvious unhealed trauma, things within them that they need to work on, and it's obviously I've been the person to kind of like get it, which isn't ideal, but it is what it is. There's no hate in my heart towards the situation, which a lot of people would probably have.
Yeah.
But I genuinely don't. And I think it's due to all of the work that I did, like kind of like
with yourself
18 months ago. I can see it from the perspective of, is it what you should do? No. Am I happy it happened? Absolutely not. Was it really awful? And did it cause massive anxiety and have me taking a step away from work for a period of time, and ended up in hospital and all of these things, and it was a big kind of trauma on my life? Yeah, it was. But do I think that it kind of, even with it being so recent, has it kind of helped to shape things moving forward for me? Yeah, because I'd say that it's helped me to dive back into things that I need to also work on. And like, it's helped me to kind of create that mindset of, right, you know what, this year is the year of like not bringing anybody who isn't good for you with you on the journey. You don't have to. And it's not just the relationship with this particular person that I left behind. It's relationships with multiple people that I've kind of like just been like, you know what, it doesn't mean you're not a good person deep down. It doesn't mean that you're an awful person, or, you know, but sometimes good people do bad things, and just because they're a good person deep down or whatever, it doesn't mean they're right to have in your life. And I think that like I've kind of been doing that quite a bit recently, just being like, you know what, that's not actually for me and what I want for my life.
It's like understanding that you don't need to be loyal to a situation that like, doesn't serve you.
Yeah, and if somebody's hurt you mentally or physically, in this case, very physically,
both,
and cause, you know, like the mental side of things as well. But if someone's hurt you mentally or physically, like, you're allowed to walk away from the situation, even if you care very deeply for that person or for that relationship, or for, even if you still, you know, have got like, you know, even if you've got still got certain levels of friendship love towards them, or whatever kind of relationship it is that you're in right now, or what
You just shouldn't let it blind you.
Yeah, you shouldn't let it blind you to the fact that certain things just can't be forgiven. You can't fix certain things, and certain things aren't meant to be fixed. And again, it's a bit of a, if you believe in this stuff, it's a little bit of that kind of universe moving certain people out of your life and out of your way for whatever reason.
Not only that, but like learning lessons from it as well.
Yeah, and I think, do you know what? Like, I had a lot of time to reflect. I had to take about 2 weeks off work. And I had a lot of time to like sit on that and like reflect on a lot of things. And it actually, I genuinely think it was an awful experience, and I hope nothing like that ever happens to me again. But it gave me a lot of reflection time. It gave me an opportunity to pull back in life, in business, with what I was doing and where certain relationships of people were going and who I had in my life and all of those things. And it really allowed me to reevaluate those things and ensure that I was ready to push forward. I was ready to move into the next kind of phase of life and business with the people I have around me. And also, tough times, guys, show you who is really there for you 100%.
100%,
and I definitely found mine. I definitely know who is there for me through and through, got my back 100%. The relationships that I've had since that kind of traumatic event took place, like, those relationships are so strong around me right now. I might have lost a friend in that situation, but I have gained so much more confidence and so much more love in my other friendships and relationships that I have right now.
It's opened your eyes who's really there.
Oh my God.
It makes you appreciate who's actually there.
Massively. Like, I was just, I genuinely, for those 2 weeks, I think I must have cried. Out of like them 14 days, I must have cried maybe about 10 of those days.
Yeah.
Just like, because I had friends ringing me, I just can't say how like thankful I am like to those people for how it took nothing. Like they literally just went into action like that. Like they were there, like just a solid wall of people around me just being like, and I am not someone with a humongous circle either by choice. But that small circle did increase just a little bit because people who I never even thought like would be there were there 100%. Like, and I was just like, you know what? You really don't know who or what you've got until something really shitty happens. And that whole gratitude thing that we were speaking about in last week's podcast, that kind of moment when all of that come to a crescendo and happened, that really was a true moment that I flipped the perspective on and felt true gratitude towards people. It could have went so differently. I could have allowed that to get me into a hole and just not moved forward, and could have just allowed everything to go to shit. But instead, honestly, because of all of the love that genuinely I felt, like, it turned into a moment of gratitude. And it was like, what an amazing thing that such a shitty moment could actually be turned into something where it's like, wow, like, I actually have everyone that I need in my life right now. I actually have everything that I need. Is there always room for improvement? I'm an ambitious bitch, so yeah, of course there is. Of course there is. I love the grind. Of course there is. But like, I genuinely, like, it was a moment of gratitude. It was like, do you know what? Like, if I never get anybody else in my life right now, if no one else ever comes into it, I'm fucking happy with who is in my life right now. Yeah.
And do you know what? It's obviously, it's crazy, as we've mentioned before, like, when your life falls together. And that's probably another one of those moments for you that, like, you don't really know who's there till they're tested. And then, and then it's crazy because you say, like, you might have lost, like, a couple of people, but you've actually gained, like, a lot from that situation. Like, I'd rather have, like, a couple of diamonds and, like, 10 pieces of coal. Do you know what I mean?
And you know what? I know, that's exactly how I feel. And I've always felt a little bit weird. Like, since kind of starting the fitness industry, I've noticed that a lot of my close, true, platonic best friends, and we were kind of touched on this before, are actually male. And I know that, like, a lot of people think that that's a bit weird. I have, like, 3 to 4 very good girl mates who I would class as actual friends rather than acquaintances. I've got lots of acquaintances, and they're all lovely, but they're not people who are
They're not like
my
your ride or
close
die people,
ride
are
or
they?
die people, yeah. And I think, 3 to 4 girls who I feel that way about, like, I truly would drop everything, and I know that they would truly drop everything for me if necessary. And then the rest of my circle are a male.
Yeah.
And the reason why is probably because I'm very in that masculine energy anyway. I think, yeah, you know what I mean? Get on with men really well. And also because since joining the fitness industry, like, at the time, like when I was in PT, like it was quite male dominated. Like I've always worked in quite male dominated environments. Like even for the first company I worked for, a couple of girls, but mostly male.
Yeah.
Then I moved into working at Prophecy Gym and Dedicated and all this, quite male dominated in terms of personal trainers and in terms of who you can create those relationships with and connections with. And so it just seemed to be the way that it panned out for me. But like some of my male friends are actually like the closest to me. Like I would call upon them if something happened and I needed them. I'd call upon them immediately. If they needed me, they'd ring me. We go on trips away together. And it truly is just genuine platonicness. But a lot of people find that weird, and I'm like, no, like I don't think it needs to be. It's not weird. It's just, for me, it's just if your values align, if you connect in that way, if you truly care about each other, if you can be male, female, it doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't. Your mates are your mates.
Yeah, and like
when you put it simply, your mates are your mates.
And I used to think I was a bit
it.
weird for that. I used to think like, should I be making a conscious effort to like have more girl mates? Like, because I'd always been somebody with loads of girl mates.
Good people are good people regardless of gender.
Yeah.
That's that.
And I said this
There's
to one
no
of my
two ways
male
about
mates.
it.
I
Yeah.
said that to one of my best male friends. And I said to him, am I weird? I was like, I was like, should I be making a conscious effort to have more close girl friends? And he was just like, why would you?
Yeah.
He was like, when you've got the girl mates that you need, he was like, I'm your best mate.
The thing is though,
the best mates.
the thing is though, like, regardless of like, say if you had like 10 people you consider like close mates, and like 5 of them are male, 5 are female, 10 are female, 0 male, whatever. It's just the quality of them. It's the merit of them as a person. It's nothing to do with gender.
And that's what I always think. It's the merit of the person. It's just whether you connect, whether you've got aligned values and all of that. And if they make you a better person, if they lift you up, and if you lift them up and do the same for them. And I think that's obviously it ties in quite nicely and wraps us up in a nice little bow there, really, in terms of environment. But
so all in all, it was a positive experience.
Really shite. Really shite, but yeah,
You've got to take the positives from it, definitely.
Yeah, in the end, I was able to take the positives from it. It did give me an immense sense of gratitude, truly.
Yeah.
Truly, and has probably changed the course of like what is to come, because I did have such a introspective period of like evaluating my life and like, am I happy with this? Like, do I want to change certain things about my behaviours and who I am right now?
Life's a big learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just
Huge
think you've got to ride what kind of comes to you.
Definitely. And I think you've wrapped that up really well. I think that's us. How long have we been going?
1 hour.
Right. We have been going, all in all, last week and this week, 2 hours and 20 minutes.
And before we even started the podcast, bearing in mind, we spoke
for an
hour.
hour. So technically it's 3 hours and 20.
It was just
But
not
it's a
for
good
podcasters.
job none of that was recorded beforehand.
Because it's not for podcasters.
No.
It was personal.
We'd be cancelled. 100%.
Cancelled.
But thank you for taking the time to do it. I actually really appreciate you taking the time to do it. And
are
for
so
opening up about... I didn't know whether to bring it up then.
No,
And I was like, well, I'm going to have to throw you under the bus.
just
Because I don't
quick.
know. I'm not going to find out. I can't just go, hey, do you want to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I've got to like speak.
You've
so
got to just say it as it is. But no,
100%,
I was
yeah.
happy. I'm happy to talk about it. It's been nice. This is the first kind of podcast that I've done where it's like been like a proper podcast where you proper get full of
thank you.
shit.
I appreciate it.
I've loved it.
Well, I've loved having you on, and we're going to leave it there before we keep going to like fucking 3
Because we
hours
will.
anyway. But yeah, thank you for listening. If you're still listening after 2.5 hours, that us.
I'm sure they will still listen. It'll be fine.
I'll still get people listening. Don't worry.
You better. And it's split into 2 parts. It'll be fine.